Okay, so here we are at the very end of our application. All we need to do is get parenting set up so that we can use the parent and unparent buttons.
That's right.
So it's not that difficult.
Nope.
Just one little thing we need to add. Well, maybe a few little things.
A few little things. Not too big.
But into the SDL demo file.
Right up here in our draw controls, we're handling our events. So right on the bottom, we need to handle when we actually press one of our buttons. So we basically have our else if control equals button parent if we press the parent button. And of course, if we press the parent button, we also need to check whether or not we have multiple selected.
That's right.
Because otherwise we don't know what to parent to what. So we need multiple selections here. So we're going to check int selected items dot size is greater than 1. I'm going to block this in here. Let me type out.
You need at least 2 items.
Yeah. So then we're going to have our unparent as well. And I'll just quickly type in unparent because this is very, very simple. Simply loop through every item, selected item, and basically set their parent equal to null.
Right.
So let me just copy this from somewhere. Yes, I'm getting lazy. Actually, I can't find one, so I'm going to just type it out. So our list mesh pointer, iterator, it equals selected items dot begin. It does not equal selected items dot end, and then it plus plus. And as we saw many times now, we're going to cast our mesh, our item to a mesh. No, actually, we could just get an IT. I'm sorry. So we get our IT mesh, and then make sure this does not equal null. So if mesh. And then we set our parent equal to null, and that's all we need to do. So there we go. Let me make sure this compiles and runs okay. Well, we won't actually run it. We'll wait a second.
Right.
So the parent. Parenting is a little bit more complex. Basically, what we want to do first off is unparent everything that's selected so that we can take the first few items. Basically, the last guy is going to be our parent, right?
That's right. So you can select 5 things. The first 4 things are going to become the child
of the last thing.
That's right.
And the first 4 things, we need to actually go ahead and unparent them so they're not parented to anyone. And we need to go ahead and get our parent, which is the last item. So to get the last item, we simply do
the last item?
The last item. We simply need to get our selected items and dot end. But it's the one before end, so we simply do a minus before that and surround this in parentheses. Because this is necessary to dereference it, because this is passing an iterator, and the iterator is actually going to give us back our mesh.
Cool.
So let me throw this as semicolon here. And now what I need to do is loop through all the selected items and set their parent to null.
Now you can go borrow.
Yes, I'm going to borrow some code. So set this over to here, and if mesh and mesh does not equal parent, because we don't want to actually unparent the parent, because for the last item we want to leave him alone and parent the first items into our parent.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is set mesh, set his parent to null. And we'll copy this again. And then all we need to do is set all of their parents over to parent. And that should be it. So let me go ahead and compile that. And run it and see how this works. So let's go ahead and create a new cube. Create a cube. There we go. Move this guy over. Select this item, move him over, and then select him.
Now we're going to see something here if the parenting works, something that's going to look strange.
Right. If we select these two and click parent, you notice the one snapped over to the other. And that's simply because his local space is now in relation to the other guy's local space.
Yeah, for those of you out there that are already familiar with 3D applications, we are only dealing in local space of each object.
Right.
And that's really important, because if we were to go to unparent the guy that we just parented in,
it will snap back out.
Yeah.
So click this guy, unparent him, he's going to snap right back.
That's right. That's why if you remember the little demo I did at the very beginning, I always left the parent in the center, and then I would move that parent, which would move all of his children with him afterwards. It gets a little bit more involved the moment we start dealing with both local and world space.
Right, it does. So if I try to rotate this, check it out, just making sure everything works properly. So I can rotate around. Look at that. Everything's working properly.
That's just awesome.
Very, very cool.
Make a plane. What you going to do with the plane?
Parent him to him.
Ooh.
I know, I'm daring. So if I select the plane...
Ooh.
It's the world.
The awesome thing is, though, from start to finish, we have developed an application utilizing SDL and OpenGL.
Right.
And we have now basically created our own...
engine.
Well, yeah, in a sense.
Scene graph API,
our own scene graph, that's right. And so here we are working with objects, letting the objects worry about drawing themselves and their children, and we don't even have to give it any thought. Deleting objects is now really, really simple.
Yeah, we can
just make sure that still works.
It's working.
And it's working beautiful. And we can now create hierarchies. We can create complex hierarchies even.
Right.
So this is a fantastic start for any kind of application where you are going to allow your users to create some sort of 3D virtual world.
That's right. Modifying object has now become very, very simple.
So a lot of things were covered throughout the last few videos. Some of the more simple ones, but important ones, were allowing a user to select objects in the scene, delete those objects out, easily manipulate them through controls, etc. So with that is going to wrap up the Scene Graph API application. So thanks a lot.